Good morning all. In the last video we have discussed the effect of solidification and the different stages involved in the solidification process. The first one was the undercooling, second one is the nucleation, second one is the growth, third one is the growth, fourth stage it comes with dendritic growth, and last one is the grain boundary formation. So finally the liquid metal, it is getting converted into solid form, and we can observe the same when we are placing it under a microscope at a higher magnification. So we can see the grain boundary. So actually the grain boundary represents the meeting portion between the nuclei originating from different region during the solidification. Okay, so again we have discussed the difference between the homogeneous nucleation and heterogeneous nucleation. The homogeneous nucleation involves the nucleation process takes place randomly at the same rate in throughout the entire molten metal. Okay, in the heterogeneous nucleation, depending upon the different factors, there will be difference in the rate of solidification in different region, or the rate of nucleation in different region. Whether in the certain region where we have higher thermal conductivity, the heat transfer rate will be very high and the cooling also will be very fast. For example, if you are considering the walls of the container or the molten metal placed near the walls of the containers, the heat transfer rate will be very high, so the faster cooling will take place in those regions. Another important factor is like the size of the grain developed. Okay, size of the grain developed is directly proportional to the solidification rate or the rate of cooling. So if we have a fast cooling or faster cooling, the grain size will be very fine. Okay, the rapid conversion of the molten metal to solid will take place at a faster rate, and the grain size will be very small. And as the time progresses, time required for solidification increases, what will happen is the size of the grain will be large. It will take large time for the grain formation, which means the smaller or fine grains are having very high solidification rate, and the coarser grains or very large grains will be having very slow rate of solidification. Okay, next is the morphology or the shape of the grains. Okay, as we discussed in the case of heterogeneous nucleation, for example, we have considered a crucible or a vessel in which we have our solidified metal. Okay, so initially we have placed the liquid metal in that same crucible. So after solidification, what we receive is a solid ingot or solid metal. Okay, if we consider the grain size of this particular solid, we can see there is a directional dependence. Okay, so throughout the entire solid, it won't be having the same grain structure. If we consider the figure given, we can see at the top region there can be a shrinkage observed. This is due to the direct contact with the atmospheric air. There is a change in the size of the grains at the top region, and the grains which is very closer to the end of the walls of the container, okay, or the mold cavity, it will be having very fine grain size. So which again it is due to the very high heat transfer rate taking place during the solidification. This particular very fine grained or the very fine grains are called as chill zone. Okay, it is very closer to the walls of the mold cavity or the mold. Okay, when we are proceeding inside, we can see from very fine grain the length of the grains is getting increased. So it is one particular zone called as columnar zone. So initially at the end it will be having the chill zone. It is called as chill zone, the very fine grains, and from there we will be seeing an elongation in the grains. Okay, elongation in the grain shape. Okay, which is called as, that particular zone is called as columnar zone. And at the central region in the mold cavity, we can see the grain formations are to an extent spherical or equiaxed, or almost spherical or equiaxed size. So we cannot say it is a columnar grains. It will be having more spherical or equal size shapes. Okay, so we can classify the size of the grain, the heterogeneous nucleated grains during a solidification into three zones. First one is the chill zone, second one is the columnar zone, and the last one is the equiax zone. Okay, chill zone will be having very fine grains which heterogeneously nucleate on the mold surface, okay, in random orientation. In columnar zone we will be having elongated grains, and in the equiax zone we will be having mostly spherical shaped grains. Next we will discuss the orientation of these grains. Okay, in polycrystalline materials we know it is composed of more number of grains. Okay, each grain will be having atoms packed in one particular direction. So when we move from one grain to another, the arrangement of atoms is getting disturbed, or the orientation of the atoms is getting disturbed, which means there is a misorientation between the grains when we are considering the atomic scale. Okay, in certain conditions or a particular application, we are capable of orienting these grains along one single direction. For example, if we are considering the mechanical process like rolling or extrusion process, after the extrusion or after this mechanical treatment, we can reorient the grains to a particular direction. When, for example, if we are considering the rolling process, in rolling actually we are passing the material, we are passing our bulk of material, bulk of metal to pass between two rollers, okay, which is closely spaced. When we are applying the sufficient pressure, this large sized metal piece or metal ingot is getting reduced in its size, and when it is passed over through the rollers, during rolling process or consecutive pass between these rollers, we can see the size of the grains are getting flattened, or it is getting elongated along the direction in which we are passing the roller. Okay, if it is in the forward direction, we will be having a elongated grains in the forward direction, or if it is in the backward direction, we will be getting an elongated grains in the backward direction. So by mechanical treatments we can orient the grain depending upon our application. So normally the grains will be having different orientation or random orientation, which is obtained during the solidification. Next we will discuss the grain boundary. Grain boundary actually we have seen as the last stage of the solidification process. In last stage of the solidification, we know upon nucleation and growth, at the end stage after dendritic growth, these grains are getting, or these atoms are getting meeting at the grain boundary, which after that further growth is restricted. So it is the boundary formed between two group of atoms. In one group of atoms, it will be having orientation in one direction. In the second group of atom, it will be having orientation in the another direction. These two group of atoms will be meet and we will be forming the grain boundary. Okay, in the figure we shows, first one is the actual microstructure or the grain boundary, which is observed under a optical microscope. The figure at the left side, and the figure at the right side is a schematic representation of the atomic arrangement at a larger scale, which cannot be observed under a microscope, but it is observable under a very high magnification microscope like atom probe microscope. So for time being, it is a schematic representation in which we can very clearly see when we are moving from one grain to another, the orientation of the atoms are getting disturbed. So, or in other terms, within a grain the atoms are having a very uniform arrangement. Next, these grain boundaries can be further classified into two. First one is low angle grain boundary, and second one is the high angle grain boundary. In low angle grain boundary, as we know, there is a misorientation between the two grain boundary, atomic arrangement in the two grain boundary. In low angle grain boundary, this degree of misalignment or degree of misorientation between the two grain boundary atoms in the atomic arrangement will be less than 10 degree, or it is varying from 0 to 10 degree. So if the angle between them is varying between 0 to 10 degree, it is known as low angle grain boundary, also called as tilt boundary. And if the misalignment between two adjacent grains are Actually, more than 10 degree, we will call it as high angle grain boundary. Okay, for an example, we have shown in the schematic representation where the misalignment is very large. We will call it as high angle grain boundary, and when the misalignment between the two grain boundaries or two grains are very small, we will call it as small angle grain boundaries. Next one is the effect of this grain boundary on dislocation and creep. Okay, dislocation actually means it is a defect or misorientation, which we will discuss in detail in the next module. So in creep is again another type of defect or deformation which is taking place at higher temperature. So grain boundaries are one region inside the material where the strength are comparatively weaker, or which can, in particular region where we will be having weaker properties. This phenomenon can be observed if you are exposing this particular material to an environmental condition, like for example if you are exposing the material to a hot environment, hot corrosion or corrosive mediums, we can say it is the grain boundary at which the initial attack of the corrosion will take place. So it is the region where the properties of the material is getting disturbed. So in grain boundary, the dislocations or defects happening in the material will be piling up, or it will getting accumulated in the grain boundaries. Okay, so that is one effect of the grain boundary. It is the one region where the dislocations or defect which is occurring in the material will getting accumulated or piling up. So they can act as a region where the new dislocations or new defects are getting generated. So they can act as source of dislocations or defects. That is one point. Next one is creep or high temperature deformation of material. So the grain boundary is having a indirect effect on the creep also. So again the dislocation pile up will take place at grain boundary. So it also adversely affect the creep property. Then another effect of grain boundaries are if you are subjecting this particular material to an external load or external pressure, whether it is a tensile force or a compressive force, what will happen to the material due to this external loading? Actually, when we are trying to deform this material, we already know the deformation mechanism existing in the material, which is either by slip or by twinning process. So slip is actually basically the sliding of the atoms layer by layer related to each other. So we know within a grain the atoms are arranged in one particular orientation, and the adjacent grains the atoms will be having a orientation in a different plane. So when we are trying to elongate, or when we are trying to apply a tensile load to this particular material, we know at grain boundary the slip direction is getting disturbed, or it is getting deviated. Within a grain the atoms will be sliding in a same plane, but when we are moving from one grain to another, this direction of the slip will getting disturbed, which means when we are moving from one grain to another, there is a misalignment in the direction of slip. So the grain boundaries will actually restrict the ductility property, or it will restrict the plastic deformation of the material. So they can act barriers or act hindrance to the deformation by slip. Okay, the dislocations which are passing through the grain boundary have to change its directions, or the deforming force will be having a change in its direction, so it will restrict the deformation. Okay, next is the effect of grain boundary on the strength of the material. Okay, we can view it in two ways. First one is, we know the defects in the material getting increased at the grain boundary, or so grain boundary can be act as sources of dislocation. In another view, grain boundary can also increase the strength of the material. Example, if we are considering a material in which we are having large number of grains, or we will be having large number of grains, which means the size of the grains will be very small. So which means we will be having large grain boundary area. So as we told, we are giving a deforming force to this material. As it passes from one grain to another, the orientation of the deforming force is getting deviated continuously, which means the internal strength of the material is getting increased. So strength of the material, or strength to deformation to tensile or compressive force, is getting increased if you are increasing the grain area, or if you are increasing the grain boundary area. At the same time, the ductility is getting compromised. Hall-Pitch equation is one direct relation which shows how the strength of the material is related to the size of the grain. Okay, size of the grain, how it is having a relationship. So sigma y is the yield strength, sigma naught is the constant which is a material dependent, ky is a constant which is a material dependent, d is actually the diameter of the grain. So we know sigma is proportional to 1 by root d, or sigma is proportional to d raised to minus half, which means as the size of the grains are decreasing, the strength of the material are increasing. It is having a reverse proportionality, or it is having a inverse relation with the strength of the material. So as the grain size reduces, the strength of the material increases. As the grain size increases, the strength of the material is decreasing. Okay, this particular relationship is called as Hall-Pitch equation, which relates the strength of the material with the grain size. This is not valid for very large grain material or very coarse grain material and very small grain material like nanomaterial. So the other materials all will falls under this category. This particular observation is followed in all other class of material. Okay, which is the Hall-Pitch equation, which relate the strength of the material is inversely proportional to the size of the grain. As the grain size decreases, the strength of the material increases. As the grain size increases, the strength of the material decreases. The reason why it is so is, as the size of the grain decreases, which means smaller the grains or finer the grains, the grain boundaries will be more. So we will be having within a particular volume, we will be having more number of grains. Okay, that actually means it will be having more number of grain boundaries. So as we told, when we are passing a dislocation, or if we are passing a plastic deformation through a grains, it is getting completely disturbed when it is striking a grain boundary, because it is offering a hindrance or blocking the plastic deforming force. So more the grain boundary area, which means it will be more offering the resistance to the deformation. So the strength of the material will be increasing. Okay. So finer the grain, better will be the mechanical properties. And as the grain boundary area increases, the resistance to corrosion will be decreasing, and also the resistance to the creep will be discussing. This point we have discussed already. So it will be the region which will the grain boundaries are the region which is very exposed to will be having high corrosive properties, and which will be having creep resistance minimum. So as the grain boundary area increases, strength will increase in one point, but in other condition, the corrosive resistance will be decreasing. Also the creep resistance of the material will be decreasing. Thank you.